Example is if an object is at rest, dili siya mag-move not unless imuha siyang lihokon. Um, as it is said there that an object will keep doing what it was doing unless acted by an unbalanced force. Um, so what does it mean meant by an unbalanced force? So an unbalanced force is um, something is an is a force that you use towards an object that is equal and opposite. So if um, if the object is unmoving, so you need to push it away or something so that it will change, then it will start moving. And if an object is moving, then you'll need to stop it so that it will change something will change into it and it will stop moving. Next is
Newton's first law is also called the law of inertia. The principle of inertia is one of the basic principles in classical physics that is still used today to describe the motion of things and how it is affected by the forces applied to them. The term inertia may be referred to as the amount of resistance of an object to change in velocity or resistance to change in motion. So, this includes changes in the speed of the object or the direction of motion. One aspect of this property is the tendency of things to continue to move in a straight line at a constant speed when no forces are affecting them. So example kay the electric fan continues to move for a speed after the electricity is turned off. So, the first law of states that all objects have inertia. The more mass an object has, the more inertia it has, and the harder it is to change its motion. So meaning, if heavy daw ang object, mas taas ang inertia o mas kailangan og force para ma-move. Example, a soccer ball is sitting at rest. It takes an unbalanced force of a car to change its motion. Next na tayo. If objects in motion tend to stay in motion, why don't moving objects keep moving forever? So things don't keep moving forever because there's almost always an unbalanced force acting upon it. So example, a book sliding across the table slows down and stops because of the force of friction. So ang nakapastop siya is ang force of friction. Example 2. If you throw a ball upwards, it will eventually slow down and fall because of the force of gravity. Kani po siya is the force of gravity po ang nakapahunos ang nakakuan sa iya ha. Oh, wala na. That's all. Thank you.
and that would be the end of our report. Thank you.
Group 5, how about the third law of motion? What you have presented is just the first law. And na-appeal ba ito ninyo itong second law?
First law ra mo as
First law lang ang
First law.
amo, sir.
So
Amo ang
na-appeal
second law, sir.
third law. Okay. First law ramang gadain nyo dito. No? Okay, so congratulations now, Group 5, for a very quick presentation. Pila ra to ka minutes, Kat? Do you have more examples? Justine and Cecilia?
Nako example sir pero wala na nako na-appeal sa slides.
You were not able to include it? Sayang man po,
Okay.
di ninyo ma-present.
And then ito. This one.
Okay,
Please
sige.
share screen.
We can proceed now.
Yes sir.
So second law, group 6.
Sige, sir. Mag-share screen. Hmm. Sige na, Michael.
Ah, so good mi sir.
Okay, please start.
Good afternoon everyone. We are the group 6. Our report topic for today is Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law says that a force applied to an object at rest causes it to accelerate in the direction of the force. Next slide. What happens when there is net force acting on an object? If force are unbalanced, sorry. Acceleration has two factor to depend on. First is net force. Net force for example ani is kaning na duha ka sakyanan nga ginatuklod. Sa isa ka sakyanan naipulo nagtuklod. Sa ikaduha is na 20 ang nagtuklod. So mas kusog ang dagan sa ikaduha nga sakyanan kay 20 man ang nagtuklod, sa isa is 10 lang, so mas hinay siya. Net force is kaning mas the more the units ang the more nga daghan ka tuklod, the more ang ang yang acceleration, and the less pa ng acceleration. Ac- Acceleration depends directly on the net force. So the second factor of acceleration is mass. Next nga slide. So example ani is kani ay duha ka object. So ang isa ka object is 3 kilogram and ikaduha is 5 kilogram. So ang sa duha ka object is kaning duhagan sa tag 10 units, or let's say example of 10 kilograms for each. Duhagan ng isa ka object o ang kaduha. So mas ganya pon tong 3 kilogram kaysa sa katong sa ikaduhang object kay 5 kilogram, tas parehara ang gidungag. Balik. So mass depend acceleration sa mass is acceleration depend inversely on the object mass. Maura to ako sa.
So, so now, so now, mag-proceed ta sa, sa formula sa second law of motion. So, Newton's second law of motion states that acceleration is directly proportional to the net force applied inversely proportional to the mass of the object. So, this law tells us that the force is equal to the mass times acceleration. This summarizes an equation F is equal to ma. So what this means is that we can do quantitative calculation relating the magnitude of a force applied to an object, the mass of the object, and the magnitude of the acceleration that the object will be experienced. And it shows the derivation ng sa unit dayon ang net force nasa unit. So 'di ba ang standard unit sa mass kay kilogram, and ang standard unit sa acceleration is meter per second squared. So ang unit sa force is that 1 kilogram times meter per second squared. And then, muna din siya ang 1 Newton na din na siya. Muna na siya ang 1 Newton. So there are there are number of things you can say about this equation kaning F is equal to ma. First is that it means that heavier objects kanang example ani kay kanang dumbbell kanang require siya application of greater force in order to achieve the same acceleration. Sa lighter objects then kay with acceleration being equal to force divided by mass. So muna siya. So it is important to note that the net force is the sum of all the forces acting on the object. Kung nagay ka ng multiple nga forces nga nahitabo sa isa ka object nga kanang which kanang often gyud na siya nga mahitabo kanang we need to present it sa kuan sa ning example ni kay free body diagram, then add up all the vectors and find the net force which tell us ang direction sa direction sa acceleration that will occur in response of the net force. So karon magkuan ko sa kanang mag-open sa camera. Mag-proceed ko sa So, muna siya ang, di ba, muna siya ang formula sa ipakita na ko ganina. Muna siya ang formula. So, dili lang siya kini ang formula nga gamiton sa Newton second law of motion ni Newton. So, napod ni siya kung ang imong gipangita So, gamiton nimo siya basta imong gipangita kay ang mass. Tas kini sad imong gamiton basta imong gipangita kay acceleration. So, na ako'y technique para dili bitaw mo maglibog kung unsa nga formula imong gamiton. So, inaniya siya kung ang imong gipangita So, kung ang imong gipangita nga kanang kung imong gipangita kay 4, so you just have to cover the letter F. So, di ba, nagtapad ang MA. So, muna siya imong gamiton. Muna siya ang gamiton. And then, kung mas imong gamiton sad, kay, you just have to cover up the M. So, muna din ni siya. Muna din ni ay imong gamiton na formula F over A. So, muna siya. Kung A sad imong gamito, acceleration sad imong pangita, i-cover na po nimo. So, muna din ni siya imong kuan kanang gamiton na formula F over M. So, muna siya. So, magkuan ko ng example. Naka-example. So example number 1 is how much force is required to accelerate a 2 kilogram mass at 3 meter per second squared. So ang atong gipangitaan ni kay ang force, how much force ang required para ma-accelerate siya. So ang atong mass kay 2 kilogram. And then, i-times nimo dayon sa imuhang acceleration nga 3 meter per second squared. So, 2 times 3 kay 6. So, dayon, muna din siya, ang equal na dayon kay 6 Newton na din na siya. And then, example number 2, kay, given the force of 100 N and acceleration of 10 meter per second squared, what is the mass? So, ang case diri, ang ipangita kay ang mass. So, ang ato ding formula nga gamiton kay F is equal to F over A. So, Ang atoang quantity force kay 100 Newton. And then ang atong acceleration kay 10 meter per second squared. So, imo lang na siyang i-divide. So, ang panda yon kay mas ipangita. So, may divide and then imong result kay 10. Tapos, mas maning ipangita. So, kilogram dayon ang kanang unit. So, that's all and thank you.
Sorry, magpadayon na, sir. Mhm. Excuse me, sir. Padayon na, sir.
Okay, any questions so far? First law and then second law.
Ah,
Jay, do you have a question
wala
or
na, sir.
question? Okay, so let's proceed to the third law.
Makita lang. Makita lang slide.
Yes.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. We are the group 7. And among topic, Newton's third law of motion. Continuation siya sa itong nag-unang duha ka topic. So, before ta magtuon, what is Newton's third law of motion? Nami panghatag diri nga bonus question ug nani siya prize sa pinakauna nga maka-answer. I-PM lang kay Catherine after sa among discussion. So kung correct mo na may prize, surprise. Ito. Nadiri. According to the Newton's third law, if a car hits a garbage can, will they both experience the same acceleration? So tubago na ninyo dayon kung maka-check mo na may prize surprise. Wait So let's proceed. Newton's third law of motion states that whenever a body exerts a force on a second body, the body experiences a force that is equal in magnitude and opposite in direction to the force that it exerts. Padayon ta. Mathematically, if a body A exerts a force on a body B, then body B simultaneously exerts a force on body A, or in vector equation form, nataning form diri. So, force gamit tag 10. AB is equal to the opposite force kani kay BA. So, bali ang example diri is kani si body A is mo ni siya. And ingon diri kung mag-exert siya og force kang body B, si body B pod mag-exert pa siya og force kang body A nga equal in magnitude pero different or lahi ilang direksyon. So, kung naghatag og love ni si Kwan, force A, gibalas pa og love si Kwan. Pero ilang direksyon kay bulag sila, it's either ingani or ingani pataas. So walay forever kay nagbulag ra dito sila. Di joke lang. So mana siya. Dayon, padayon ta. Newton's third law sometimes refer to this law loosely as action reaction and mas nakadungog kay ta ani sa word nga action and reaction where the force exerted is the action and the force experienced as a consequence is the reaction. So balik atong gibuhat ni balik ta diri, balik gibuhat ni body A nga nag-exert siya og force kang body B mo to siya ang action nga nabuhat. Ug ang reply ni body B or si body B ang nitabo is ang reaction. So ang consequence sa action. Og para mas masabtan nato magtuon tag example kani. This example kay natay duha ka object or system ang swimmer o ang wall. Kaning swimmer is giset nato siya as our system of interest o ang iyang direction is kana pa horizontal. So atong tanawon kanang red nga arrow kaning duha diri kani si force wall on feet is man tawag gitawag na external force. Gitawag nato siya external force tungod kay mo ni siya ang maka-affect ani atong object or kani nga system move ani nga direction. Then si wall nga gi-exertan sa force ni tiil kay nihatag po na siya og equal nga force nga gi-exert ni tiil sa yaha. So mo din ang hinungdan nga nag-move po ni nag-move atong system of interest. So sa atong free body diagram natay kuan diha na gibutang diha nga duha kay nga mga arrows o kanang force wall on feet dayon na din vertical line si BF or buoyant force nga magtabang sa ato nga swimmer mag-support siya sa tubig o kani si W is the gravitational force nga makancel lang nato siya because there is no vertical acceleration kana ra siya tota kay Ralph.
Good afternoon, everyone. Another example of action and reaction forces in different situations is running. See the figure in phase A. The runner exerted a force to the ground, which is the action. And then in phase B, the reaction force of the ground on the runner that pushes him forward. As we can see, the forces that the runner exerted to the ground is the same as the reaction force of the ground that pushes the runner forward. And we can tell that the force exerted is equal but opposite in direction. So makita nato dira nga ang runner nag-exert siya og force siyang tiil backward padung sa ground. Then the reaction force which is nag-move siya forward same sa force nga ihang gi-exert backward but nag-forward siya. Next. Ug karon adto ta sa forces on a stationary object or sa mga butang at rest or wala naglihok pero nag-exert sila og force pareha sa mga libro nga naa sa lamesa. Gakahitabo gihapon ang action o reaction force. Ang lapis nga gibutang sa table naa gyapon. Daghan mga butang or mga instances nga gakahitabo ang Newton's third law of motion nga abi nato kasagara ra gakahitabo like running and walking or gakahitabo ra when we are moving. Another example, ko nagtindog sa monoblock na bangko. Na-exert pa kog force ana? Yes, na-exert kog force. Ahaman, sa monoblock chair? Yes, na-exert kog force sa monoblock chair. But let us not forget the primary forces acting on anything are gravitation and electromagnetic. So nag-exert ya kong force sa Earth And that will be our topic in exercise 5.9. See in figure 5.19. Makita nato dara na JR.
Sorry, kawala-walang signal.
Ah, kato pang isa.
Kani, wala to isa ta.
Ay wala tong isa.
Proceed na ni Rafi. Oh, proceed na ni.
Ay sige, sorry. So let us proceed to example 5.10. Ang physics nay problem ana. Ang physics teacher daw kay nagtulod og cart nga naay karga ug demonstrational equipment. Ang ihang mass kay 65 kilogram. Ang ang mass sa cart kay 12 kilogram ug ang mass sa equipment kay 7 kilogram. I-calculate daw ang acceleration nga naa sa nga na-produce when the professor nag-exert og backward force of 150 newtons sa floor and all forces opposing the motion such as friction on the cart's wheel and air resistance total of 240 newton. So see figure 5.20. In system 1, makita nato ang physics teacher na exert og force sa iyahang tiil backward that causes her to move forward. And then sa system 2 na exert ang physics teacher physics teacher og force sa cart to push it forward. So makita pod nato dara nga through pushing the cart gakahitabo ang second law of motion which is na-discuss ganina sa group 6. So since they accelerate as a unit, we define the system to be the professor, cart, and equipment mo ning system 1 sa figure 5.20. So in a situation na ang professor nag-push backward with a force from the foot of 150 Newton according to Newton's third law, ang floor ga-exert og forward direction force of 150 Newton on system 1. So tungod kay horizontal man ang tanan motion ani nga situation, we can assume nga walay net force sa vertical direction. So tungod kay horizontal man ang direction, therefore, the problem is one-dimensional along the horizontal direction. As noted, friction F opposes the motion and is thus in the opposite direction of the force of the floor. So we do not include the forces from the physics teacher or force from the cart tungod kay these are internal forces and the force from the foot kay dili sila appeal sa system 1. So walay lain significant forces acting on system 1 kay ang net external force makita ra nato sa problem. Magamit ra nato ang Newton's second law to find the acceleration as nga gipangita sa problem. Next daw are JR.
Wala na.
Ah,
Other example.
kumara ito. Cut.
Kati, Catherine.
So another example of problem solving of motion, so that is third law of motion. So a baseball bat with a mass of 5 kilogram exert a force of 20 Newton on a 0.150 kilogram. Find the resultant acceleration of each object. So these questions kanang we will find the acceleration of bat and acceleration of ball. So also gina-require sad siya na gamiton nato ang second law and third law so para masolve na. So so the third law tells us that if the bat daw exert of 20 Newton force on the ball, so the ball exert 20 Newton force on the bat. So to show that the force are in opposite direction, so kaning bat exert 20 Newton so on the bat, so negative 20 Newton na siya. So we will call that negative. It is a arbitrary which force we can call negative, but we can also call the reaction force, that is the force exerted by the ball on the bat, negative. So next. Madungog ninyo. given. But with a mass of 5 kilogram, ball with a mass of 0.250 kilogram, thus bat exert 20 Newton force on the ball and ball exert uh, negative 20 Newton force on the bat. So next. So we will find the acceleration of bat and acceleration of ball. Sa katong giingon ni Robles, so kung kaon mo acceleration katong acceleration equals force over mass. So makita ninyo diya sa solution. So F bat bat on the ball kay negative 20 Newton over mass sa bat kay 5 kilogram. So equal negative 4 meter per second square, and sa acceleration din sa bat is kanang bat on the ball is 20 Newton over 0.250 kilogram sa mass sa ball. So that is 80 meter per second squared. So makita nato na both object experience kanang equal and opposite forces, but they react to these forces in every different ways. So the ball experience a much greater acceleration because it has a much less mass. So the mass of the bat is much greater, so it doesn't experience as a great an acceleration as the ball, as explained by Newton's second law. So the proof that the acceleration are in different direction. So because each object will experience an acceleration in the direction of the net force on it, the ball will actually change direction and ahead in direction of force applied by the bat, while the bat only slows down in direction of the force applied on the bat. So makuha ninyo na i-divide lang. So that's the end of our report.
And
Okay.
thank you for listening.
Questions, class? Questions so far? So that is those are the three laws of motion as formulated by Isaac Newton. So questions? Andy, do you have something to add? Andy?
Sir, katong about lang sa ano sir, sa email nimo sir ba, pwede mangayo sir kay para sa kuan sa mong quiz.
I haven't given my email. I thought ako na
Yes sir.
na-dictate. Anyway, is a.belio @bukso.edu.ph. Pangalang i-chat. So Andy, can you give your quiz now? Or after this, ano?
Sir,
Maghatag na ba mo og quiz?
kanang naghulat lang mi sa imong email sir para ma-appeal ka namo.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
On the chat. Okay na, Andy?
Yes sir.
Sige. So, just add this to your G form, and then automatically this will mabalik niya sa kuha ano dayon. Katulad ng editor's link, no? Inana ra kadali. You just add me as collaborator sa inyong G-forms nga settings. Okay ra, Andy? Klaro ba?
Yes sir.
Okay. Now, before you start with the quiz, I give you time until 7:30 to conduct your quizzes. Ako na sad ang mag-share gamay. Okay, can you see the simulation, class?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can use this as your study ninyo, no? Simulation study. So I think all of you are familiar with sa ganina. What is this game? Class?
Taguar, sir.
Tagupuar?
Tagwar.
Tagupuar, no? And this reminds us of katubitawng sikat ron nga movie, Korean movie, Korean series,
Squid Games.
Squid Games. Di ba na tagupuar adto nga level? So,
Yes, sir.
okay. So, kini nga simulation, pet simulation ni siya, na din tanan, no? You can demonstrate all of the Newton's laws of motion na diri tanan. So, kana lang, without any force, obviously, the part in the middle will not move. So, wala. So, manaingon nga, the cart is always at rest. No? Or, pwede pod nga ang cart, tagaan mo na siya og initial speed, mag-move na pa na siya forever with that initial speed. And nothing will change because there is no net force nga nag-act. No? So, that is the law of inertia. Now, kung magbutang ta og unbalanced force or net force, what will happen? Irvin, what is your prediction? Nagbutang ko og tao diri sa left side.
Then, unsa dayon, sir?
Lagi, what is your prediction of this one? What will happen next if there is a person here sa left side?
So, mabira niya ang murag, unsa ni, sir? Basket ni murag, kwan dito sa
Cart,
left side
cart
sa
na siya,
kaliwa.
cart. Kariton.
Ang cart, mabira niya ang cart to left side, sir, kay ang force raman kinaraman sa left side, di man balance.
Okay,
Wala may force
so
din sa right side.
there will be a net force. Muna pasabot class sa net force. Kanang net nga word, dili pasabot nga pukot, no? Kasi pukot inyong nga nahuna ba nga net, fish net, dili. Net means surplus, unbalanced, no? Basta dili zero ang imong force. Na sobra. So that's why it's called net. No? So okay, so hmm. So wala man say kontra blue wins because of the net force directed to the left. Now what if naay kontra sa pika side? Mata na to siyang kinagamihan diri. So Katirin, what is your prediction what will happen next? So you can set sum of forces, values, and then the speed of the cart. So what will happen here? Nakay 150 newtons padulong sa left, 50 padulong sa right. So there is a sum of 100 newtons to the left also. So blue wins gyapon, no? Okay? So there is a sum of forces. So you can still continue, no? If you like, para simulate ninyo ang laws of motion. First law, second law, third law. Dito tanan. Zerel, do you have any Do you have something to add?
None so far, sir.
How about you, Frain? Frain,
Sir?
naa kay ikadugang sa discussion for this afternoon.
Sir, okay na ko, sir.
Okay. Now, next week, um, mag-focus ata sa inyong virtual simulation project proposal, no? And then at the same time katong inyong virtual laboratory activity sheets para maka-work on na po dayon ta sa laboratory component aning atong klase, no? So basically ang lecture component nato mao na ni lecture and then open forum, discussion, question and answer inana, no? Aning kato dahil inyong quiz. So make sure nga makahatag gid mo og quiz and then you also take the quiz, no, the soonest para ma-record dayon sa reporters, no? Because that will constitute 60% of your grade. No, again, that's 60% of your grade. Class standing na inyo class, no? Nako inyo class.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you have the entire week to conduct your quiz. So, pwede na siguro mo maka-quiz karon, especially the previous groups na naka-report last meeting. And please take note of my email address na katong akong gisend sa inyo. So every time you send me the editor's link, you just add my email address sa settings sa inyong G-Forms, no? G-Forms quiz ninyo. Okay, so ano na lang, no? Tat, Atirin, please take note of the attendance for this afternoon and then paki-take note ko Kat sa kinsay absent sa nag-report. So group 5, kisa to absent sa inyo. Justin, buharaman mo, no? Please take note ka.
Yes.
So pila ra mo karon? Okay, so I think it's time for you to conduct your quiz, no? So dito na lang ninyo i-post ang link sa FB group chat nato, no? Questions, class? Do you have any questions? Concerns?
Ang summary of scores, sir, dito ra gyapon sa Google Classroom, sir ba?
Ang summary of scores na atay format ana na lahi pud ang folder ana. Jacob?
Yes, sir.
Lahi pud ang folder ana niya. Okay, pakitanaw lang ko sa G Classroom, no, na i-post ana dito.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So every time you give a quiz, i-summarize din ninyo ang scores together with your sige ni tawag ana answer key. Nasa answer key ana, no? Okay. Some other questions? Concerns? So wala na. Okay, so dito na lang ko mag-monitor sa inyo, no, sa ato ang group chat para sa inyong quiz. Ervin?
Yes, sir. So, by next week, sir, di sa lugar mag-stop sa lugar sa atong reporting, no?
Oo. Mag-focus ata sa inyong laboratory na sa ta mag-focus Irvin.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, please take note ha, ang inyong laboratory simulation ra gid tanan, no, using the PET software. So I hope na ma-enjoy ninyo ang PET software kay simulation na matatanan virtual, no? Okay. So kato ganina, you can try it also, no? Okay, class. So sige, good luck sa inyong quiz. Enjoy your quiz, no? See you na lang dito sa atong GC. Okay, goodbye class.
Goodbye, sir.
Bye, sir. Thank you, sir.
Goodbye, sir. God bless.
Goodbye.